After my rebirth, the first thing I did was tear up the admission letter from Princeton University with my own hands. I also rejected the fervent confessions of my two childhood friends. Why? Because in my previous life, I chose one of them, Henry Johnson. But on our wedding day, he abandoned me to elope with Sandy, causing my only relative, my grandmother, to die from anger. In my despair, my other childhood friend, Christoph, held my hand and vowed solemnly, "You still have me, Amelia. I'll never let you down." Because of him, I slowly moved on from my past. Christoph pulled me out of the darkness, but after we got married, he suddenly became cold and distant. I thought it was because he regretted that we didn't have children. Until one day, after a car accident, he left me dying on the road to save Sandy, who had only minor injuries. I died on the spot, my soul drifting aimlessly, only to discover the truth: my entire life had been nothing more than a cruel love game among the three of them. They had already written wills, leaving all their inheritance to Sandy. On top of that, the reason I couldn't conceive for years was because they had schemed against me. They had bribed a doctor to secretly remove my uterus as a twisted testament to their loyalty to Sandy. In this new life, I decided to stay far away from all of them and live a life that was truly my own. When I tore up the Princeton University admission letter, my professor was shocked. "Amelia, what are you doing?" This year, our school had 4 students admitted to Princeton University. I was the only one who got in with the top score in the entire city. Not just my teacher, but all the faculty had high hopes for me. I calmly replied, "I don't want to go to Princeton University. I've applied to a special research program at Stanford University. They've agreed to assign medical staff to take care of my grandmother." Sighing, she nodded. "So that's the reason. All right, I understand your family situation. You must work hard and carve out a bright future for yourself to repay your grandmother's care." I nodded and balled my fist. Not even having time to grieve the misfortunes of my past life, Henry and Christoph called me in a rush, urging me to come downstairs. On my way down, I could feel the stares and whispers around me. Someone even tripped me on the stairs, muttering "slut." Confused, I limped to the corner, only to overhear Sandy chatting with my 2 childhood friends. I really did see Amelia getting out of the Princeton University board member's car in the middle of the night, but that doesn't necessarily prove anything. Maybe she really did get in with her own grades. "Sandy, stop defending her. She doesn't even dare to make her grades public. She must be hiding something." "Exactly, Sandy, you're too kind. She's so scheming, there's no telling what she's capable of." After joining the research program, I had signed a confidentiality agreement that required me to keep my grades private. I never imagined that this would give Sandy the opportunity to slander me. However, of all the people who knew me, I didn't expect that my childhood friends would think of me like that. They knew how hard I had studied for my grandmother's sake, yet they still chose to believe Sandy's lies. I let out a bitter laugh and consoled myself. It didn't matter. Once I officially joined the program, all my personal information would be concealed. By then, I could finally cut ties with them completely. I wouldn't have to endure these hurtful words anymore, nor live foolishly amidst lies and deceit, ending in such a tragic death. Pretending I hadn't heard anything, I walked up to the 3 of them. "What do you want?" I asked. Henry's disdain vanished in an instant, replaced by a bright smile. "Amelia, this is great. We'll be at the same school again. All your hard work has finally paid off." Christoph smiled as well, his expression equally warm. Chapter 2. "We can continue to protect you now, but for years isn't enough. We'll need a lifetime to do it," Christoph added eagerly. Several passing girls cast envious glances in my direction, but my heart remained unmoved. In my past life, the 4 of us attended the same university. I worked tirelessly for a bright future, studying hard and actively participating in school activities. But in the end, my scholarships and postgraduate recommendations were secretly manipulated and handed over to Sandy. There were even rumors about me having an improper relationship with a school official, and I endured isolation and bullying for 4 long years because of that. Back then, these 2 men also promised to stand by my side and protect me. But after my death, I learned that they were the masterminds behind everything. During countless sleepless nights filled with tears, they used my pain to entertain and please the woman they truly loved, Sandy. Noticing my silence, Sandy spoke in a tone dripping with mockery. Amelia's life is truly blessed. Born as the pampered daughter of a wealthy family, and both of your childhood friends are completely devoted to you. Smiling bitterly, she added, I don't have such good fortune. If it weren't for Amelia's financial support, I wouldn't even have been able to attend school. On hearing that, the two men immediately looked at her with sympathy. Sandy, don't say that. You're so beautiful and talented. You're destined for great things in the future. Once you graduate, I'll have my dad arrange a general manager position for you. No, Sandy, come to my company instead. I'll give you an even higher position and better pay. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. The two of them started competing with each other to make promises to Sandy. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. After all these years, they had never shown me this kind of affection or favoritism. Indeed, feigned love can never compare to true devotion from the heart. As I prepared to leave, Henry noticed my unusual expression. Feeling guilty, he grabbed my hand. Amelia, don't overthink. We're good to Sandy because she's your friend. Christoph, just like when we were kids, ruffled my hair playfully. Don't let your imagination run wild. The exams are over, let's go for a drive. We've got a gift for you. I nodded, not refusing. I was leaving soon anyway, and I wanted to take one last look at the city where we grew up together. When we reached the parking lot, Henry and Christoph vied for the chance to have Sandy sit in their passenger seats. Sandy pretended to hesitate, looking at me with a mock concern. Isn't the passenger seat only for Amelia? If I sit there, will she be upset? Before I could respond, Henry had already seated Sandy in his car. She won't mind. She's got the best temper. Christoph glared at him in frustration, slamming his car door shut with a sour expression. It wasn't until the cars were about to start that they realized I hadn't gotten into either vehicle. They rolled down the windows, exchanging awkward glances. They tried to explain, but couldn't come up with a convincing excuse. It's fine. I'll drive my own car. Hearing this, they both sighed in relief, though they still seemed puzzled by my unusual behavior. Amelia. I rolled up my window, unwilling to hear their empty excuses. But as I drove, the scenery outside stirred up countless memories. The three of us had grown up together as childhood friends. For as long as I could remember, both families had been eager to see me marry into theirs. But fate had other plans. After my parents passed away in a tragic accident, the once vibrant Nicholas family was reduced to just me and my grandmother, depending on each other for survival. Chapter 3. An elderly woman and a young girl, surrounded by wolves in sheep's clothing, struggled to keep their crumbling family afloat. Because of this, I pushed myself to the limit, studying day and night to take on the family responsibilities as soon as possible. Sandy, on the other hand, came from a poor background and was often ostracized at school. When I learned she was also an orphan, I felt sympathy for her and took the initiative to befriend her. I supported her financially, paid for her education, and encouraged her to face life's hardships alongside me. But she saw my kindness as condescension. She envied everything I had and used every means at her disposal to win over my two childhood friends. Together, they ruined my entire life. Lost in thought, I didn't realize we had arrived at our destination. The earlier events had clearly unsettled my two childhood friends. Both rushed to open the car door for me and even offered to carry my bag. Amelia, look. This is the park we used to visit as kids. Christoph and I bought it. From now on, it'll be our private secret base. Christoph nodded, chiming in. I've already arranged for your favorite yellow roses to be planted here. By this time next year, there'll be a breathtaking sea of roses. Then, the four of us can come here, take drives, and watch the stars together. Their faces were full of excitement and hope for the future, but I stood there in silence, staring at the familiar land. This place really had been our secret hideout as kids, holding countless happy memories. But I had never liked yellow roses. In fact, I was allergic to all flower pollen. While I was lost in thought, fireworks suddenly burst across the sky, spelling out my name in vibrant colors. Amidst the magical display, Henry took out a jade bracelet and held it out to me. Amelia, this is the heirloom bracelet of my family. My parents told me to give it to the future mistress of the Johnson family. I've wanted to give it to you for a long time, but waited until today for the right moment. Amelia, will you be with me? Don't forget, when you nearly drowned as a child, I risked my life to save you. I can even give you my life, let alone a small jade bracelet. He puffed his chest proudly and looked at me with anticipation. In my past life, I had been deceived by their seemingly deep affection. Back then, I naively believed that our bond as childhood friends would lead to a happy ending, that my grandmother and the Nicholas family would find some solace. It wasn't until the day I died that I learned the truth. Even the deepest devotion could be nothing more than an act. Just as I was about to reject him, Sandy suddenly spoke up. Amelia, why did you tell people I was spreading rumors about you? Now everyone's cursing me. She held up her phone, showing me the screen. On the school's website, hundreds of comments accused me of being shameless, claiming I had used my body to secure my place at university. A few comments defending me were twisted by Sandy into evidence of me attacking her. Christoph snatched the phone, his expression furious. Amelia, how could you do something like this? Even if you're reckless, why drag Sandy into it? Henry, though more composed, still looked at me with an accusing gaze. I suppressed the storm of emotions within me and said firmly, I didn't do it. If you don't believe me, you can investigate yourselves. But neither of them listened. They were too busy comforting Sandy. Don't worry, Sandy. I'll contact the PR team right away to handle this. Let's grab some dessert. Ice cream always makes you feel better. With one of them on each side, they escorted Sandy away. Neither spared me a backward glance. I took a deep breath, my gaze fixed on the ashes left by the fireworks. Compared to life and death, this humiliation was insignificant. At the very least, I was alive, with a new life and future ahead of me. Chapter 4. I wanted to drive home but realized that Christoph still had my bag. Left with no choice, I hurried to catch up with the three of them. As I passed through a grove of trees, I overheard Christoph's impatient voice. Sandy, how much longer do we have to keep pretending? I really can't stand it anymore. Who knows if Amelia, who's been messing around so much, has some kind of disease. And Amelia is so pathetically stupid. She can't even tell the difference between antiques and fakes. No wonder she could be sweet-talked by some old guy into bed. How can someone like her possibly be worthy of being the Johnson family's mistress? Sandy, only you deserve the real heirloom bracelet, Henry added. Sandy, with an innocent and pitiful look, glanced at them both. It's true Amelia has done a lot of bad things. But she's been kind to me. How can I just abandon her? If you two don't do as I say, I'll never speak to you again. At her words, the two supposedly proud and aloof young masters immediately panicked and began apologizing to Sandy. They practically groveled, eager to trample on me if it meant putting her on a pedestal. Over a decade of friendship and shared memories meant nothing compared to Sandy's few manipulative words. Holding back tears, I turned and walked away into the endless night, my heart heavy with exhaustion. By the time I reached home, my sprained ankle had swollen so badly it was unrecognizable. My grandmother, filled with concern, brought out cooling ointment to massage my injury. To ease her worries, I shared the good news about my university acceptance. Her face lit up with surprise and joy. My baby is so accomplished. Grandma is getting old, and the future of the Nicholas family rests on your shoulders. I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. After all these years, the Nicholas family finally has something to celebrate. Grandma will throw a big banquet for you, a proper celebration, she beamed. Her joyful expression was the same as when she sent me off to get married in my previous life. Back then, she believed I had found happiness and was filled with hope, only to pass away at my wedding from the shock of Henry's betrayal. This time, I vowed to change everything. Neither I nor my grandmother would suffer again. Since my grandmother was elderly, I took charge of planning every detail of the banquet. When my two childhood friends heard about it, they showed up uninvited to help, and even brought my favorite strawberry cake to apologize. Amelia, You've been ignoring our messages. Are you still upset about that day? Henry sighed. We didn't mean to blame you. We were just worried you'd go down the wrong path. For people like us, reputation is everything, Christoph said. I didn't forgive them, but I allowed them to stay and help. In our past lives, they owed me far too much. I didn't need closure, I just wanted to part ways completely in this life. After my parents passed, the once prosperous Nicholas family fell into decline, leaving us vulnerable to scorn and bullying. Now, my success was proof to the world that the Nicholas family had a future and was no longer to be trifled with. Because of this, my grandmother took the banquet very seriously, attending to every detail. On the day of the banquet, prominent figures from all over gathered to celebrate. Sandy, dressed in a custom-made gown, entered with my childhood friends by her side. Her eyes burned with envy as she took in the grand venue. Amelia's life is truly charmed, she muttered. But so what if you're born into wealth and excel academically? I'll make sure you live the rest of your life wishing you were dead. As she finished speaking, the large screens in the banquet hall suddenly lit up with photos of me. One after another, they displayed explicit images of me in bed with different men. Isn't that the eldest miss of the Nicholas family? Wow, she really gets around. I guess the rumors were true. Children without proper parents really don't turn out well. No wonder people said Amelia slept her way through university. It all makes sense now. Chapter 5. The Nicholas family is truly finished, resorting to having their daughter play mistress and social butterfly. These mocking words and disdainful glances were all too familiar. In my previous life, I endured them twice. Once at my wedding. Henry openly fled the ceremony for Sandy, which caused my grandmother such grief that it ended her life. The scandal turned both me and the Nicholas family into a laughingstock in San Francisco. The second time was at my funeral. Before my body was even buried, Christoph eagerly proposed to Sandy right at the service, reducing my entire life to a cruel joke. The memories from my past life flooded my mind, and panic gripped my chest. My eyes darted to my grandmother, whose breathing was labored as she stared at the photos in disbelief, her eyes brimming with tears. My granddaughter would never do something like this, she exclaimed. Noticing her worsening state, my heart sank. I begged those around me to help take her to the hospital, but they all backed away as if avoiding contamination from someone as dirty as me. In the end, it was my two childhood friends who stepped forward. Henry offered to drive, while Christoph and I supported my grandmother as we rushed her to the hospital. Good thing you brought her on time, the doctor said. Any later, and her life might have been in danger. I quickly thanked the doctor and stayed by my grandmother's bedside, my heart heavy with guilt. While keeping vigil, I reviewed the security footage. As I suspected, Sandy's figure appeared on the screen. She had deliberately swapped the photos. Each of the scandalous images was fake, carefully and maliciously doctored. Clutching the evidence, I prepared to go to the police. But my two childhood friends blocked my way. It was just a prank. Do you really have to blow this out of proportion? Christoph scolded. Do you even realize what kind of damage you'll cause Sandy if you report this? I froze in place, stunned by his audacity, before erupting in rage. And what about me? My grandmother nearly died. Doesn't she care that she's destroying me and the entire Nicholas family? Christoph immediately stepped in front of Sandy protectively and shoved me forcefully. Enough, Amelia. Your grandmother is fine now, isn't she? Besides, flies don't land on eggs without cracks. If people are saying these things about you, it's probably because you did something to deserve it. Those words no longer pierced my heart. Numb, I brushed past them. But Henry grabbed my wrist tightly, his expression cold and unreadable. Amelia, don't waste your time. You know how powerful our families are. No lawyer would dare take this case. When I didn't respond, his grip tightened. And don't forget, your grandmother is still in the hospital. With one word, I can have her treatment stopped. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. 3, 2. I was wrong. I collapsed to my knees, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. I couldn't do it. I couldn't risk my grandmother's life. Christoph snatched my phone and smashed it into pieces. Shards of glass flew, cutting into my skin. He looked down at me coldly. "As long as we're here, you'll never hurt Sandy." I remained motionless on the ground, watching their figures disappear before the pain in my chest spread, overwhelming me. The grievances and sorrows of 2 lifetimes finally erupted. I cried, wrenching sobs tearing through me. Youthful promises had been lies. The affection of childhood friends was nothing but a facade. Only their cruelty had ever been real. I didn't know how long I cried before I dragged myself back to the hospital, moving like a lifeless shell. Fearing that Henry or Christophe might try to harm my grandmother, I refused to leave her side for days. During this time, only Sandy kept sending me messages. The two of them had taken her on a trip, going bungee jumping and completing all the plans we had once made but never fulfilled. With a trembling hand, I blocked her number. When I lifted my head, I saw 2 dignified men standing by my grandmother's hospital bed. They saluted me. "Miss Amelia, we are medics assigned by the organization. Please rest assured, while you're away, we will ensure your grandmother's safety and health." It was then I realized the time had come for me to leave. After thanking them, I went back home. I discarded every item related to my 2 so-called childhood friends. Without a glance back, I boarded the plane. Henry and Christophe were not my pillars of support. For my grandmother, for the Nicholas family, I had to rely on myself to carve out a bright future. Chapter 6. Third person after their trip, the new semester was fast approaching. Henry and Christophe had enjoyed themselves immensely, but a vague sense of unease lingered in their hearts. They knew the incident with Sandy had gone too far. Amelia was already pitiable, losing her parents at a young age and having only her frail, aging grandmother for company. If she had been misled and taken a wrong path, they couldn't say it was entirely her fault. After all, they had grown up together as childhood friends. If Amelia had erred, wasn't it their duty as her brothers to guide and care for her? With this in mind, they stopped on their way home to buy her all kinds of gifts. When they arrived, they brought a variety of supplements to visit Mrs. Nicholas in the hospital, only to be turned away. Madame Nicholas holds a special status. No unauthorized persons are allowed to disturb her rest. The words unauthorized persons stung both men deeply. They had grown up with Amelia. Though not related by blood, they considered themselves closer to Nicholas' family. How could they bear to be dismissed so casually with those words? Furious, Christophe rolled up his sleeves, ready to make a scene. But Henry, ever composed as the heir of the Johnson family, stopped him with a frown. His instincts told him the person in front of them wasn't ordinary. "Where's Amelia? Tell her to come out and say whether we're outsiders or not." Contrary to Henry's anger, the only response he received was cold and curt. No comment. The two left in disgrace, their tempers flaring. Christophe fumed, muttering curses under his breath. Amelia, that girl, her temper's getting worse and worse. Who knows what kind of bad habits she's picked up? I've said it before, she's spoiled because we've always treated her too well. Enough, Henry said, suppressing his own unease. Let's check the Nicholas residence. An inexplicable feeling gnawed at him, as if a piece of his heart had suddenly gone missing. The emptiness was unsettling. When they arrived at the Nicholas residence, it was completely dark, not a single soul in sight. Even Christophe, who had been fuming moments before, began to panic. Just like in their childhood, the two climbed over the wall and sneaked into the house. They reached the halls effortlessly, finding their way to Amelia's room. But the once warm and cozy space was now barren and cold. The only thing left was a thin layer of dust. How could this be? Where's Amelia? Henry stared at the empty room, disbelief etched on his face. Where are the things I gave her? Amelia always treasured them. My gifts are gone too, Christophe murmured, his voice tinged with confusion. Our photos, the travel journal we kept together, they're all gone. The two exchanged a glance, and the unease they'd been feeling bloomed into full-blown dread, consuming them entirely. Where could she go? The Nicholas family's been in ruins for years. No one would dare take her in. She must be hiding in a fit of anger. When we find her, I'm going to teach her a lesson. The Nicholas family's already fallen, and she still has the audacity to act like a spoiled princess. Desperation creeping in, they began calling their contacts, asking anyone and everyone if they had seen Amelia. Chapter 7. Anxious, Henry and Christoph hurriedly instructed their family bodyguards to search everywhere for Amelia. Until dawn, after they had scoured the entire city, they still couldn't find any trace of her. Her ID card, bank cards, and all her information were now invalid, and the only person who knew where she was, they couldn't get close to. Amelia, who had always been by their side, no matter what happened, never left. Now, she had completely vanished. It was as if she had turned into mist, vanishing into thin air, leaving no trace behind. Henry and Christoph were consumed by fear and sadness. They couldn't even muster any interest in Sandy's invitations. Where did Amelia go? Is she mad at us? Is she never going to forgive us? The silent room offered no answer. That beautiful, intelligent young woman would never appear again. After I got off the plane, I took a long drive. After a series of twists and turns, I finally arrived at my destination. The professor welcomed me warmly. Miss Nicholas, our talented student, you finally arrived. We were heartbroken when we heard you were applying to Princeton University. Someone as promising as you should never be missed. Thank you, teacher. I will work hard and not let you down. I bowed respectfully. Looking at your resume, it's clear you've been interested in this field from a young age. So why did you apply to Princeton University? At this question, I didn't know how to answer right away. Princeton University was the dream of Henry and Christoph. We grew up together, from babbling toddlers to adults. We had barely ever been apart. Having known each other for so many years, I couldn't bear to leave them. So we promised each other we would all attend the same university and never be apart. Later, Sandy joined the picture and replaced me in their hearts. Henry and Christoph used their family connections to get in as special recruits. They spent an enormous amount of money just to help Sandy join them smoothly. Not the least bit ashamed of pulling the strings, they turned around and spread rumors that I had used my body to climb the ranks. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at the thought. When I was young and naive, I trusted the wrong people and took the wrong path. Now, I finally have the chance to start over, and I will never let myself go down the wrong road again. Heaven gave me a second chance, and I would make the most of it, not wasting this life. The teacher patted my shoulder, looking pleased. Good, that's great. At first, I was worried. A delicate young lady like you, would you be able to handle the hardships? But looking at you now, I'm at ease. The world is yours now, young ones. No hardship could compare to my past life. At least now, my grandmother was still alive, and I hadn't wasted half my life on two people who weren't worth it. In the time that followed, I kept my focus on my studies, ignoring everything else. One day, as I was leaving the lab, I ran into Henry and Christoph. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was seeing things after staying up late. But they called my name clearly. A senior beside me quietly reminded me, Amelia, be careful around these two big shots. I heard they invested $20 million to get into the research group for a tour. When they saw us talking, Christoph grabbed me and pulled me away, his face showing clear displeasure. Can't you ever sit still? You can't stop flirting wherever you go. If you're so desperate to get married, just come to me already. Chapter 8. Flustered with the sudden turn of the events, I didn't manage to reply. My colleague tried to explain for me, but I knew all too well about Christoph's bad temper. Taking a deep breath, I signaled for him to leave first, not wanting him to get caught in the crossfire. On the other hand, Henry still maintained some level of composure. He looked at me, his expression complex. Amelia, why did you leave without saying a word? Why did you suddenly change your plans? Why did you throw away the things we gave you? Why did you leave us? The barrage of questions was making my head ache. I rubbed my temples and said sharply, Henry, what right do you have to question me? Who are you to me? I am. His hand hung in the air, unsure how to respond. In this life, I never accepted his confession. I didn't love him desperately. In my heart, he meant nothing. As for the so-called childhood friendship, it had long since been exhausted by repeated betrayals. The usually rebellious Christophe lowered his pride. He bowed his head slightly. Amelia, we were wrong last time, but there's no need to be so heartless. Do you know how long we searched for you? They told me how, after I left, they searched in desperation, nearly going mad. When they had no other choice, they kneeled before my grandmother and begged for information about my whereabouts. My grandmother, who had always been kind and had seen them grow up, couldn't bear to see them suffer and told them of my decision. I hadn't chosen either of them. Instead, I chose a completely new life. So, they used all their connections, spent millions, just to see me once more. But I no longer cared about them. I took out my phone and played the recording from the day they confessed to Sandy. Then, I looked at them indifferently. Stop pretending, the game is over. If you like Sandy, go after her. Don't use my life as a tool to fulfill your great love. I have my own life to live, and I hope you won't disturb me again. The two, once so confident, now turned pale. They opened their mouths, but no words came out. The only sound was the repeated recording from my phone. Christophe tried to snatch my phone away, but I stepped back and coldly stared at him. This is a research center, and they dedicated security personnel. Don't think you can break my phone to destroy evidence, and don't think you can use my grandmother to threaten me. Mentioning my grandmother brought a deep, unspeakable pain to my chest. She had treated them so well. Over the years, she had almost regarded them as her own grandsons. She gave them everything I had, summer fruit teas, winter scarves. From childhood to now, every treat and gift had to be prepared in threes. But what did they do? When I was at my most helpless and vulnerable, when I needed help the most, they threatened me with my grandmother's life. I could never forgive them, nor would I ever forgive them. A flash of heartache passed over Henry's stern face. Amelia, it's not like you think. I just wanted to scare you that day. Grandma is also our family. How could I really harm her? Yeah, Amelia, don't you remember? We were the ones who helped take Grandma to the hospital. Christophe looked anxious, but when he glanced around, he didn't dare approach. I scoffed coldly. I was still considering that, which is why I didn't want to argue with you. But my patience with you ends here. Chapter 9. Inhaling sharply, I spat, Henry, Christophe, I am no longer the helpless orphan who let people trample on me. I won't let anyone hurt me or my grandmother again. My future path was still long, and I had neither the time nor the energy to waste on those who were not worth it. The two of them still wanted to say something, but security at the research center stepped in and stopped them. Sorry, gentlemen, the interview time is over. Please leave and do not disrupt our normal operations. Though unwilling, they had no choice but to leave. After walking a short distance, Henry suddenly turned around and looked at me. Amelia, we've grown up together. I don't believe your heart can be so cruel that you don't even care about our past friendship. We may have done some wrong things, but we will prove our sincerity. Our feelings for you have never changed. Christophe nodded repeatedly. One day, you will forgive us. Hearing these words now only made me laugh. In this life and the last, their words hadn't changed at all. Back then, they used our youthful bond to deceive me into marrying them, deceive me into living a lonely life, deceive me into wasting my years. I couldn't understand it. It was me who grew up with them. Why didn't they trust me? Why didn't they believe me? Why did they choose to hurt me like this, all for Sandy, someone they had known for only a short time? I also didn't understand why, now that they were in love with Sandy, they had come back to me, pretending to still love me deeply. I didn't know if their words came from the heart, or if they were still deceiving me for Sandy's sake. What I did know was that, from now on, my life would have no ties to them. I didn't want to see them again, but I had underestimated their persistence. In the days that followed, the food at the research center became much better. From morning to night, it was almost always my favorite dishes. Every afternoon, strawberry cakes were delivered on time. Everyone, from the leaders to the cleaning staff, received the same treatment. My colleague couldn't help but comment, Amelia, are those two chasing after you? They're really extravagant. Are you jealous? I quirked my eyebrows. Why would I be? Those who choose this path, who cares about such material things? Indeed, I was no longer the young girl who could be won over by a piece of cake or a sweet word. Now, I had a bright and glorious future. I had a beautiful life. Henry and Christoph were nothing but a small, insignificant part of my long life. But the more I ignored them, the more persistent they became. They showered me with gifts like a never-ending stream, until it became unbearable. In the end, it was my teacher who intervened and stopped this absurd spectacle. I enjoyed a period of peaceful days, but when the holidays came and I went home, I couldn't avoid meeting them. This time, when we met, they both looked much more haggard. One was the proud heir of a wealthy family, the other was a rebellious rich young man. Now, both of them wore expressions of exhaustion, no longer the confident young men they once were. I was walking with my grandmother in the yard, enjoying the sunlight when they arrived with Sandy, who was crying. "Amelia, we need to talk to you. I know you don't want to see us, but this is the last time. If we don't say these things, we won't be able to sleep in peace." I didn't want to engage with them, but my grandmother patted my hand. "Go, some things cannot be avoided. No matter the outcome, you must put an end to it." Chapter 10. Reluctantly, I led the three of them into the living room. As soon as Henry and Christoph entered, they both knelt down. Their faces were full of sorrow, and it was as if they were enveloped in endless pain. "Amelia, the night after you left, the two of us had the same dream. In the dream, we both did terrible things to you. The dream felt so real, as if it had actually happened. We suddenly understood why you left, why you became so distant from us." I didn't respond. But the two of them were already crying uncontrollably in front of me. Sandy, standing by, suddenly ran up to me, sobbing loudly. "Amelia, please help me. I never meant to destroy your relationship. I didn't do anything wrong. I just simply liked them and wanted to repay your kindness." "Shut up." Christoph yanked Sandy back, slapping her hard across the face. His body trembled with rage. "You wretched woman, it's all because of your scheming that we ended up like this with Amelia." Henry roared. "We saw the diary you hid under the table. You never liked us. You deliberately approached us because you were jealous of Amelia, trying to hurt her through us." Christoph huffed in anger. From their words, I learned many things that had confused me in both my past and this life. Sandy, through me, had gained all the preferences of Henry and Christoph. She had meticulously shaped herself to be the type of woman they liked. She would toy with them like a cat playing with a mouse, using tricks like acting helpless or coquettishly pretending to be sweet. When she saw that she couldn't explain herself anymore, Sandy wasn't willing to keep pretending. She looked at the two boys with bloodshot eyes and screamed in hysteria. "I did it on purpose, so what? Why does she get everything from birth, while I have to rely on her charity to survive? My looks and talents aren't worse than hers, so why are both of you so obsessed with her? I won't accept it. I just can't accept it. I'm going to destroy her with my own hands. I want her to know that the love she has isn't real. It's just the garbage I've thrown her way." Christoph could no longer hold back. He kicked Sandy hard. He had been rebellious since childhood, and when it came to a fight, he held nothing back. This time, he hit her with lethal force. I was afraid they would ruin the Nicholas family's reputation, so I quickly intervened. "Enough. If you want to make a scene, go outside. Don't come here and act like this in front of me." At that instant, Christoph stopped and looked at me. "Amelia, I'm sorry, I was so stupid. I was tricked by her, forgetting our past, forgetting how good you were to me." Both of them looked dejected, and without a word, they began to cry in front of me. Henry muttered over and over again, "My feelings for you have never changed. It's just that you're so smart and so outstanding. I didn't have the confidence to be sure I could win your heart, so I deceived myself and believed those lies. They thought that by doing this, they could pull me into the mire, that they could keep me by their side forever. But unfortunately, life wouldn't always go as planned. I struggled and grew wings in the mire, flying far away. They couldn't trap me, nor could they catch up to me. After that day, Sandy was sent to the hospital, disfigured, and expelled from school. Henry and Christoph were held accountable. Through my teacher, I pressured both the Johnson and Young families, demanding they stay away from me. They could bully the orphan Amelia, but they could not bully the strong, determined version of me. On the day Elle returned to the research center, the sun was bright and clear. Elle didn't know what the future held for the three of them, but Elle knew what lay ahead for me: a brilliant path.